Hello, it's Becky, and I have an idea that I want to try to work out today on camera. Um, to do that, I am going to be making some dragonfly earrings with the Bargain Bead Box. This was their February box. I forget what the name of it was, something Meadows. It's pretty anyway. It's got lots of dragonfly themed things in it, and these really pretty beads. And so I wanted to make some dragonflies out of it. And to do that, I'm going to be using 26 gauge craft wire. And I just cut off, it may be more than I need for this, but I cut off about 20 inches of it. And I'm just going to use that and try to get this done. The tools that I'll be using is I may, when I get to the bail, use my 6-step bail making pliers for that. I'm going to set this aside for now though, because initially it's not going to be real important. I may be using this for pulling the wire through at some point. And these are just needle nose pliers, and so we may also be using these. I'm going to set that aside. We may also be using these. We'll find out. I don't know yet. And we'll be using these as well. Most of what I'm going to be doing is going to be just shaping the wire, and running the beads along it and through along the wire. So there's not going to be a ton of shaping that we would need for all of these, but these are the tools that I am going to have handy, and just in case I need them. And I already used these to cut my wire off the spool. So I am going to get out the beads that I want to make this with. Now, the idea that I've had and this idea has been percolating in my head for a while, is that we have some little tiny dragonfly wings with these long beads from the box and little secondary wings. Although I don't think dragonflies have bigger and smaller wings. The wings are the same length, both sizes. So let's just grab 4 of these. Like, I'm going to make a pair of earrings, so I'm going to want to have 8 of these available, but I think 4 will do that for this. And then for my thorax, I was going to grab from this set of fire polish beads. I'm just grabbing some of the ones with the AB coating because I think they're pretty. I'm just going to want one there on my thorax. Let me grab a second one for my second pair of earrings. Up here and out of the way. And then for the head, I want one of these other ones that are the dark purple AB coating, like that kind of matches what we've got going on. And I want that for my head. And then for the tail, I'm going to grab a bunch of these very, very teeny tiny ones. I'm going to get about 3 of them there. 3 of them over there. But I am also going to need 4 extra ones for my wings, and we'll see why in a minute. So total of 7 per earring. 4 for the wings and 3 for the tail. And then we have these little mixed beads in here, and I'm just going to grab them at random from in here. I'm not going to pick which colors I'm going to go with. I'm just going to grab 3 of these for the tail, for each earring. Okay. One dark one sort of green one, a couple of these others. So I'm going to take you over here, that away. All right, and so the way it'll work is that I will have these spaced out as little segments for my tail. And I'm going to want to work from the tail upward because where I end, I'm going to make a little bail to attach to the earring for my little dragonfly necklaces. So let me move this out of the way, and I will go ahead and work up from the base of the tail, the top of the head. Let me move you a little bit closer so that we get a better idea of what we're doing with these, because I am using tiny beads and tiny wire. So Yeah, let me move all of you guys a little bit out of the way. All of those out of the way, and these up here so that I don't knock them around with my wire because I'm absolutely going to do that. Absolutely going to do that. So I started out with my wire. I'm just using my fingers to kind of straighten it out a little bit. Move my tail beads over here. I just want it to be able to go through the beads easily without catching on anything. All right, so I'm going to find the middle of my wire by holding the ends together and running down all the way there to the end. I'm not putting a very harsh bend in the end. I just want to know where it is. And I'm going to take one of the very, very tiniest beads. I think this is like a 2 millimeter bead. Seems small enough to be 2 millimeter. And I'm going to put one end of the wire through it. And push it down to the end of my bend in my wire here. Then I'm just going to hold on to this bead here and pull up gently. And then pinch it on either side like this so that we get the wire together. And these two ends of this wire are just going to be buddies for the rest, well, for part of this anyway. And then I'm going to string the rest of my tail on both wires. So I'm going to start. So we started with the tiny 2 millimeter. This is a 3 millimeter. I don't know. I don't have a gauge here to look at, but this is the order that we're going to go. And we've got the tiny, almost clear ones, and I'm going to string both of these wires through if I can ever find the hole. And this is a problem. It's a bit of a tight fit. That's why you want to make sure that your wire is very straight. And this is actually where I'm going to grab these so that I can just have something to grip the wire with while I pull this bead down to the end. I'm gonna pull on individual ones to, because it's not even all the way. I just want to even out. Yep, the wrong one. So that we're not getting weird tension issues when we go all the way down to the bottom. And then I'm straightening this out again before I put on the next bead. So this may take a little bit of a while to get these on here, but apparently the trick to working with this tiny gauge wire is patience. So put our next bead on. It is the very tiny 2 millimeter bead. Apparently it's got a bigger hole because it just went right down here. I didn't have to hold on with the pliers at all. So now I've got a tiny bead on the end. It's acting kind of like you know what I'm talking about? A head pin, sort of. And so we've got the two wires acting as the rest of the head pin. I'm going to continue with the rest of these. Let's get these on here. Sorry, I'm not doing this in front of the camera. Both wires. Come on, buddy. All right, and that bead just fell apart on me, so be careful. Both wires through. Pull. Yeah. Another bead that's breaking. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab a couple more of these beads so that I can finish this. And I am not going to string 2 beads at a time through these very small holes. They're apparently very delicate. I'm going to do 1 bead at a time. So just one of the wires. And what I'll do here at the bottom is I'm just going to carry this wire, second wire, along the side a little bit. So I'm just going to bend it around there and give it a little teeny pinch. And then I'm going to put on another of the smallest beads. This is why you try things out. You find out what works and what doesn't. So since I gave it a little pinch, it should snug up to that second bead right there. But there's only 1 wire going through it because this is a delicate bead and we're not trying to break all of the beads that we just got. And so for the last one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put 1 wire on, put it on 1 wire, and have the other one run up next to it. Like so. I'm just going to give it a little pinch here to bring the wires close together again. And this is my dragonfly tail. Right. So for the next part, I'm going to take this big guy that's my flourite. You guys know all the different parts of bugs, right? Bugs are fascinating. They are so cool. And dragonflies are even cooler. So I'm going to take both wires through that one, bring it down there to the end. And then I'm going to bend the wire away from the edges so that it comes around. But before I put it back through here, I'm going to be stringing some beads. I've got it bent away here on the right and on the left. I'm going to set this down and pretty much leave this where it is. I'm going to weigh it down with one of my pliers so that it doesn't pop around all over the place. And I am going to start stringing my wings on. So the way I'm going to do these wings is I'm going to string a bead on, have it be up there, and I'm just bending it to the wire so that it's where I want it to be. And then I'm going to keep this pretty straight so that I can slide this tiny bead onto it. And then this is the where you want to be careful part. I'm going to put the wire back through the big wing bead, not this one, because this is going to be the stopper again, just like this one was on the end. So I'm going to put this through here, bend it a little bit so that it is not right next to it, and then I'm going to hold on to this part and pull this bead very gently. I don't want it to kink. I just don't want it kinking. I want this wire to come through smoothly, like that. Now I have 1 wing, and bend this a little bit this way. So I want it to come out that side. And I'm going to do a second wing the same way with this one. And I've got the fatter end of these beads pointing outwards away from that. So the thinner end is the one that's closest to this bead. So these two are going to be right next to each other on here. And I'm just going to straighten this out a little bit more. So I don't want it to kink when it comes back through it. I'm going to grab this one. It's my little stopper bead on the end. And yeah, just be real gentle with this fine gauge wire. That back through. Oh, yep, that went really nicely actually. And I'm okay with some of the wire showing on the ends. I'm okay with that. If you're not, you might want to move this around or try to adjust it. Okay, this is fine to me. I'm going to take this end and put it up through this bead another time. I'm just going to turn this so that it doesn't twist on itself or kink. Being real gentle. Give that a little bit of a tug. All right. And I've got two wings on my dragonfly. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with this wire. And maybe that's what I need to do is turn this light over here because I keep seeing shadows from my hands and the sunlight. So hopefully this doesn't wash everything out. All right. So again, I'm just going to straighten it with my fingers a little bit. And then start with the top wing. And then we're going to want to give it a little bit of space so that it has room over here on that side. That's where I want it to be. Like place it where you want it to be on this bead before you put the other bead on or through it. That way you can make sure it's not going to move or it won't be like coming out of the top of the bead, like right here. It wouldn't be the end of the world if it was. But we're going to be putting another bead on top there, so it would have to be moved out of the way for that. All right, and we're going to put this bead on here. And look, I only broke 2 beads during my little experimentation phase. And that's only because it couldn't handle, these little beads couldn't handle 2 wires going through them. But we figured out a way around it. If they were stronger beads or different beads, then beads with bigger holes, then you wouldn't have to carry this around the outsides. But there's ways of doing things. Work with what you got, right? So I'm going to pull that through. Myself one wing. Then, you know, I think I figured out why I like X-Wings so much is because they look like dragonflies. So cool. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I like spaceships. I think they're very cool. We are definitely making a freaking wing right next to it, right there, where I want it to be. Near you. It's starting to get a little kicked up, so I'm just gonna warm it up and straighten it out a little bit more. Straighten out, fly right. My little dragonfly buddy. Right, very tiny ones. I'm gonna take this one and pull it all the way through. The reason I'm using 26 gauge wire is because it is so flexible and it's small enough that it can go through multiple times. Okay. Then I'm going to put this wire through this one an extra time, so we get 4 of these. Ooh, that is going to get very kinked up. So let's straighten out a little bit more. Straighten out a little bit more. It's not done yet. Not yet. Now I've got my head on my little firefly, and I'm really happy with the way that this looks. Really happy. Okay, so my 2 extra wires that are coming out of here, I am just gonna whisk them in order to make it twisted and it's hitting the camera and the light. That's okay. Just twist for like another inch or 2. Just so that I can get a nice loop on top to attach an earring to. Or you could add other things to this earring. All right, that's going to be enough for a loop. I'm going to grab my veil making pliers. I'm going to choose this one. I think this is a good loop size. I'm going to do it sideways like this. Wrap it around. I'm going to wrap it around several times. Well, off my excess. My ends in. And you can move these. I like the way it just kind of twisted up and curved naturally. But you can, twist it a different way. Really fun, really cute. And then I just can attach an ear wire to that. And it's a little dragonfly. I hope you enjoy baking these. Have a great weekend.